Hello, in today's video I'm going to show you how to create 2D character platformer movement. So in today's video we'll learn how to move right, how to move left, how to flip our character to the direction it's currently moving, as you can see here, and how to create double jumping functionality for our game. So if you are going to like today's video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to press the like button. So let's start working. As you can see here, I've already created scene. This is just prepared scene with only sprite renderers here. So as you can see on the game objects, there is no colliders, rigid bodies, etc. No scripts attached. So what we are going to do, we will be moving our character with physics. So first what we need to add is a rigid body. Rigid body 2D to our player game object. What this does is that we can use physics to move our character. Now, the adding rigid body 2D means that our character will be using physics. Okay, so when I press play, you will see what happens. Okay, just let the application to reload. Okay, so I press play and our character falls down. That means the gravity is already working on our player, but this is our platform, so we don't want our player to be able to drop down to true platforms. So for that reason, we are going to be using colliders. Okay, so first let's add collider, box collider 2D. So as you can see here, the box, we can press this one. So as you can see here, I will zoom in. The box was drawn around our player. You can change this box here with the size, etc. But I don't want to change it because it looks good for me now. And for our player to not fall through our platform, we also need to attach box colliders to each of the platforms. So let's do that quickly now. And the last one is here. Okay, so when we press play now, you can see here our player is standing on the platform. So maybe I will move player a little bit up so you can see what this is the UI. Let's press play. And our character dropped on the platform and he is staying there. Okay, so that's all the preparation we need to do for our scene. Now let's start coding. So first let's create C# script player controller. Okay, and this will be our player controller script. Let's double click to open. Okay, let's give it a minute. Okay, and let's move it to attach to our player. And my player controller script was open on another screen, so I move it here. And as you can see here, we have empty player controller script. So what we will be needing to move our player, first, we'll need move input. So let's write float move input. Here we will read the values from our keyboard, the input from our keyboard, in which direction we want to move our player. So second one, which we need to add, is reference for our rigid body 2D, because we want to apply forces or velocity to our rigid body. Okay, and we should also add something called move speed, or create value move speed. Here we'll define as fast we want to move. Okay, so first, when we have created our first values, first we need to create connection between our defined rigid body 2D and our rigid body attached to our player. So to do that, because this script is attached to our player game object, let's just write rigid body 2D is equal to get component rigid body 2D. So what this line does is that now when our here, okay, we stop playing here where we have our script attached. No, it's not attached yet. Okay, when we have our script attached, the first rigid it will get component will go through. Sorry, get component. This line will find first rigid body attached to the game object that our player script controller is attached to. So it means when we have our player controller attached to our player game object, the rigid body 2D which will be found is that one attached to our player game object. Okay, I hope it's clear. If not, please write a comment, I will explain. Okay, perfect. So now what we need to do is to read input values from our keyboard. So to do that, let's write here move input. We want to read inputs on the update because we want to read inputs from the keyboard from our player on every refresh of the frame. Okay, so let's write move input is equal to input get axis, and let's write horizontal. Okay, so the value which we read here under horizontal, okay, will be 1 or -1, depends what arrow player we press. So it means left arrow is -1, right arrow is +1. And if we'll go back to Unity, if we would like to change the arrows as an input for horizontal axis, if we'll go to edit and project settings, here you can change your input for horizontal axis under horizontal, under input manager. And alternative buttons are A and D placed here, so you can place here whatever you want. Okay, so let's get back, and now let's create our move function. Public void move. Let's remove this, and let's write rigid body 2D dot velocity because we'll be changing movement of our player by setting up velocity, and our velocity will be new vector 2, and now we write move input. So here is the value we check on the keyboard, so left or right arrow, then we multiply it by the move speed value, and then because it's vector 2, so we are just setting here the speed on the x value, so we want to keep current value on the y direction. Yeah, so let's write rigid body 2D dot velocity dot y, because we don't want to mess from this function with our velocity in y direction. Okay, so now let's create void fixed update because this update has constant refresh rate, and here this fixed update is the place where we should do all our physics calculations. So our function move will be placed here. Okay, so now let's go back to Unity to check how our movement is working. Here let's change move speed to like 5. Let's press play, and as you can see here, our player is moving. You can notice when I will stop pressing the button, we have like small delay before our player will stop. To remove that, it depends on you what type of movement you want, but to remove that, let's go back to our script and let's change here input get axis to row. Okay, let's press Ctrl save. Let's get back to Unity. Let's press play. And now we have something like more stiff movement. Okay, as you can see here, there is no slow stopping of our player movement. So what I would have added additionally to our game is to be able to flip the player in the direction where it's currently moving. So when I'm moving right and left, it's facing the same direction. I would like to, for example, if I move left, our player to flip on the left. Okay, so like that. Okay, so for that I need to change the scale. Okay, so let's create function for that. Let's go back to coding. First, let's create value for our scale. Float scale x. Okay, and now let's get our current scale. It will be scale x is equal to transform dot local scale dot x. And now let's create flip function. So flip public void flip, and to create our flip function, let's write okay, let's create if condition. So if we will be pressing right arrow, so if you want to move right, that means move input will be greater than 0. Here we write transform dot local scale is equal to our transform, is equal to new vector 3 from scale x. Yes, so we take the current scale because we are moving right and our initial okay, and our character is already facing right, and we are getting that scale, so we don't have to flip our scale because it would, yeah. So that means we'll write scale x and we'll take current transform dot local scale dot y and transform dot local scale dot z, because those local scales we don't want to change. Okay, and if we would like to move left, that means our move input will be smaller than 0, and here the local scale we need to multiply by -1 because we want to flip to other side. Okay, now what's left is just to add flip function to our movement. So let's write flip here and control save everything, and let's go back to Unity and let's test. Let's press play, and if I move right and if I move left, as you can see here, all the time our character is flipping to the right and to the left side. Okay, now what's left is jump function, so let's go back to coding. Okay, so let's write now value for our jump force. So public float jump force, and let's go to create jump function. Public void jump. Okay, and to create jump we'll be using our rigid body velocity. So here let's just write for now rigid body 2D dot velocity is equal to new vector 2 rigid body dot velocity, rigid body velocity x, velocity dot x, because we don't want to change velocity x. It means we don't want to change the speed. We are moving horizontally, and vertically we'll use our jump force. Okay. And our jump, So one mistake here, jump force. And now let's add our jump, one more thing, because we need some condition to jump. So if our input dot get key down, and let's write key code dot space. So that means if we will press space, we want to set up our rigid body velocity, vertical velocity equal to our jump force. Now let's add our jump to update function. Jump, and let's press Ctrl save, and let's go back to Unity. Set up our jump force for value like 5. One thing we forget to do before, freeze rotation on Z. Okay, let's press play, and let's test our jump. Okay, our jump is working, but if I keep pressing space like that, we have unlimited amount of jumps. And to fix that, let's get back to our coding. First, let's create few values that will help us to create our jump functionality. First one will be boolean value. Bool is grounded. This will help us to check if our player is staying on the ground. Another one will be references. I will explain them in a moment. First one will be transform ground check. This will be reference for our object we'll create in a moment. And second one will be public layer mask ground check. So before, sorry, not ground check, maybe ground layer. Let's call it ground layer. Okay, so before we create our function that is checking if our player is grounded, let's go back to Unity and create on the player new empty object. Let's rename it to ground check. Ground check, and this will be our simple collider. Let's add collider, circle collider, and let's change the radius to something small, like okay, let's make it zoom in. Let's make it maybe 0.5. Okay, 0.005, sorry. And let's lower this one somewhere here. So now what we are doing here is that I am now creating the circle, and this circle, if our player will stand on the ground, will be checked here. And now this collider collides with the collider on our platform. And to have proper collision, we need to change this one to trigger. So that means that collider can overlap this collider. Okay. And if our player will be grounded, if our player will be grounded, we'll get value true here. We'll write function in a moment for that. We'll get value true here, and if value will be true, we will allow our player to jump. Okay, I will write the code in a moment so you will see what I mean. Okay, but first let's create a reference on our player. Let's take our ground check. Let's move it here to the ground check, and ground layer we'll need to create here. I have already created ground, but to do that, just click here on the layer, press add layer, write ground here. Okay, so when you have created ground, now choose the one here, ground. So what we are doing here is that will allow our circle, when it's triggered, to overlap on the collider on the ground. So now what it means that all of our platforms, so you can shift click them, should be also set as ground, okay, for our function to be working properly. And now let's get back to our coding. Here let's write function check if grounded. Okay, let's write public void check if grounded. Okay, so now what we need to create here is the function that is grounded is equal. And now if our physics 2D that overlap cycle is, now you can see the this is the hint how you should write the function, okay, here. So what we will be writing here is our ground check that position. So this is position of our circle collider we just created, and then ground check dot circle ground check dot get component circle collider 2D that radius. Yes, so it means that here we are checking, we are getting the position of that one, so here on the player, then the radius of this one, so this radius, so that one marked here, and now is colliding with ground layer, so with the platforms we've set as ground layers, okay. So now that function will return true. So what's left for our player will be able to jump only once. Let's write here, every time when we call jump, let's call our function check if grounded, okay, and that function will set is grounded to true. Okay, here check if grounded, and then if we press space, we just need to check the condition if is grounded. So it means if is grounded is true, then we will jump. Okay, so let's press Ctrl save, and let's test if we have coded everything as it should be. Okay, let's press play, and let's check once. Okay, I'm constant pressing, and I can jump only once. So every time when I land, I can jump again. But if I'm constantly pressing space, nothing happens. So my player only jumps once. So that's how we want it to work. And now let's add double jump functionality. Okay. For double jumps functionality, let's write here public jumps amount, public int, and let's also write a value int jumps left. Okay, now let's go to our jump function, and we need to change a little bit here because we want to have double jumping. So maybe is grounded is not needed for now here. What is needed if is our value if our jumps left are greater than 0. So that means that we have more jumps available than 0. We want to jump, and then we want to reduce amount of jumps left. So jumps left minus minus. Okay, and the value we'll set from our inspector is jumps amount. So jumps left is just the value we are calculating inside our code. And to be able to set our jumps left to our starting value of jumps amount, let's write function public void reset jumps. Reset jumps. And now what this function will do, we'll just check if we are standing on the ground. So if is grounded, then we'll just set our jumps left value, jumps left equal to jumps amount. So we'll set it to our starting value. We'll set inside the inspector, inside the Unity inspector. So this will be this value here. So jumps amount, let's write 2 for now. Okay, let's go back to code. And now what's left is to call our function somewhere inside our code. So I want it to do from check if grounded, because here inside that code we will be setting our is grounded to value true, and then if we call check if grounded function, we'll set our value is grounded to true, of course if we are standing on the ground, and then if we are standing on the ground we'll reset our jumps through this function. So we'll set our jumps left to jumps amount, which is actually jumps amount is currently equal to 2 from our inspector window. We just set it. Okay, and one more thing what's left, we want to call check if grounded every time we press the space. So we want to do it inside here. Okay, so a little bit of cleaning to not have so much mess here. And I think that's all. Our functionality should work now. So let's go and check how it's working. Let's press play and let's test. Okay, I will try now to double jump. 1, 2. Okay, I'm jumping 2 times, and as you can hear, I'm constantly pressing space, so I can only jump 2 times before I land. If I would change it to 3, I can now do triple jump, and now I'm falling. Okay, so it's working fine. And now if I will go here and I will jump and I will hold right arrow, as you can see here, our player is hanging in the air. So this is very easy to fix now. Let's stop playing. Let's create 2D physics material and let's change the friction like to 0. Okay, so let's call it, let's rename it to physics material PM or something like that. Okay, and go to our player, and here inside the material, just change the material. Now let's test if our solution is working. Now let's go, jump, and as you can see here, everything works correctly. Okay, let's increase our jump force just to be able to jump on our platform. Maybe let's write it 8. Yeah, perfect. And now you can play a little bit with the physics here, with the gravity scale, etc., to have more like dynamic jumping. Yeah, as you can see here, if I change it to 5, you can see how fast I'm falling. Okay, and now you can increase the force, and you can play a little bit with that to change the feel of your game. Okay. So that was all in today's video. If you liked the video, please don't forget to put the thumb up and to subscribe to my channel. That helps a lot. And also, if you have questions, please write them in the comment. I will try to explain as best as I only can. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.